Hi folks, today what I'm going to show you is how to make what is known as the combo bead. And a combo bead is actually going to be a combination of different steps and some different beads along the way. So to get started, what I'm going to do is actually take off a small chunk of my white clay here. And you will need two separate colors for this one. Alright, so right now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to start off with what's going to be my base for my bead. So I'm going to go ahead and make the rounded bead just like you have before. And I'm not going to puncture any holes in it yet, but I am going to try to get it as round in shape as I possibly can. I'm going to set that little guy aside. Now the next step, I'm going to do what's called a cinnamon bun bead. Alright, and to create that, I'm going to kind of break off a little bit of a larger chunk of my clay this time. And rather than rounding it out, I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to try to push it or smush it so it's good and flat. Okay? And to really ensure that it's got a good consistency to it, or a good, that it's thick or it's flattened all the way through, or even on both sides, I'm going to take a glue stick. I'm just going to really carefully roll this out. Okay, I'm going to set that aside, so I'm going to set it right up there. I'm going to do the exact same thing with my black clay. So I'm going to take off a relatively bigger chunk of it with an X-Acto. You can break it off with your hands too, whichever is easiest. Okay, maybe grab a little bit bigger than that. Okay, kind of work that in. And again, my fingers are starting to get a little bit dirty. Brought a wipe, so after I get done flattening this, I'm going to kind of wipe off my fingers so that I don't dirty my white when I put it with it. And then again, use your glue stick. And if your glue stick winds up doing that with the clay, just really carefully pull it off. Alright, but it doesn't, the thickness of it really doesn't, you can make the thickness as thick as you want. Mine's, pretty flat as a pancake, so it's really up to you guys how much you want to thicken it. Alright, so my fingers are pretty dirty. I'm just going to take a little wipe, clean them off. That way, when I touch my white clay, it doesn't get super gray or black for that matter. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to sandwich these two together. Okay, and once you got them sandwiched, you're going to go in and we're going to cut a rectangle. Alright, so I'm going to go with however wide this is. Oop, I'm going to hold that kind of still. And you will need an X-Acto knife to cut this, so please be careful as you're cutting. But go ahead and cut a rectangle. It doesn't have to be perfect, but get it as close to a rectangular shape as you can. Okay, so now I'm going to just take my extras and actually push them off to the side. Some people last year actually took the extras, they made a marbled bead, or you can use this as your base too, so you don't have to use more of your clay. But essentially you've got something, mine kind of looks like an Oreo, but you've got the two colors. You can do ones where you actually sandwich 3 different colors together. I've had kids do that. So it's really your call on how you want to do it. But I'm actually going to take my glue stick one more time and I'm going to roll this just a little bit flatter. So it's a little bit skinnier than what I started with. All right, now comes the fun part. All right, my rectangle is a little skewed, but that's okay. I'm gonna start with one of my more narrow ends, or my thin end, and I'm really gonna carefully try to roll this guy up just like you're rolling a sleeping bag. So you're gonna start really tight at the beginning, and you just kind of roll this, roll it, roll, 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 okay? And once you get to the end, you can kind of almost take it and sort of smooth out that ending so it's got more of a cylinder shape to it. So essentially your bead is going to look something like that. Alright, now this end, it kind of sticks out a little bit, so I'm going to use my X-Acto. Move that out of the way. And I'm going to cut it so I get a nice crisp, I would call almost like a cinnamon bun shape. And I would do the same with your other end. Take a look at which end you think looks a little bit better. But again, if you use more than one color, you're going to notice that you got a little bit more of a swirl in there. Also, I could have made the white a little bit thinner just by flattening it out. But essentially what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take and I'm going to cut off a couple little slices of this. And I'm going to make my slices kind of thin. So I'm going to go 1. Okay, I'm going to slide that over. 2. Okay, these again are kind of thick. You definitely are going to need an X-Acto knife to do this. 3. 4, 5, 6. I mean, you may use all 6, you may not. Right, I'm going to kind of take mine and shape them, but now what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to start putting them on the outside of my main bead. So it's going to look something. I'm just going to kind of piece them all together, and this bead is going to wind up being a little bit bigger, but that's okay because we might wind up using these ones for more of a necklace or a hemp necklace. So you're essentially just kind of using these and filling in. This one's going to kind of wind up looking like a soccer ball. Actually, I'm going to put this one that way. This I'm going to push kind of in the middle, try to get to fill in. So my bead essentially looks something like this. All right, now I'm going to smooth out, because if you look really close at my bead here, I'm going to try to put that in focus for you. You can see it's, you know, it's got some ridges, it's got some areas where I need to go in and kind of smooth it. So I'm going to take my hands really lightly, okay, roll it around. You don't want to smush it because you don't want to destroy the, essentially the pattern. Right, you'll start to see some of those colors just kind of start to blend together. So you're gonna wind up with a pattern of a bead, something like that. And then again, you're gonna go in with your skewer, and I would find an area maybe where the black or the areas didn't touch, and you can go in with your skewer to poke it. Let me grab my skewer here. All right, so I'm gonna go in on one end, okay? And again, really helps if you do twist your skewer as you're going through, okay? Push through something like that. Same thing on this side, push through. All right, you're gonna push that a little bit and try to make that bead hole nice and big for yourself. Okay, so essentially when you're finished, you have a nice rounded bead. It looks something like that. So again, this will definitely probably be something more for a choker, because if you look at it in terms of your wrist, it's gonna be a little bit bigger. I have had kids make some smaller versions of this, but nonetheless, it's pretty challenging to make them much smaller than this. So this would be probably used more or less for something of a choker, but go ahead and try it. Try some different colors. I would like you guys to try 5 of these, all right? By the time you get to the 5th one, you'll get really good at it, but they're kind of fun to make. Just remember that you got to start off with at least 2 colors, and the more you flatten them, the more you're going to get more of a swirl pattern on the inside, which really makes for a really cool looking combo bead. Okay, so good luck. Why don't you guys go ahead and grab your supplies and you can get started. Bye.